Set to go for our pro portion of the card here at Hardrock MMA 99, our first pro fight of the evening. We'll feature Ethan McGee making his pro MMA debut, taking on Kellen Vancamp. McGee making his way to the cage right now. 24 years old, had a 10-8 amateur record. Actually won his last 3 amateur fights after taking a 2-year layoff. All 3 of those wins inside the Hardrock cage. DJ Smith, Alvin Miller, and his last fight at Hardrock MMA 95 over Stone Beverly. Had 7 submission wins and 1 TKO as an amateur. And he's ranked number 5 as an amateur in the state of Kentucky. Now training at Tri-State Combat with Aaron Thomas. His teammate Jordan Zawari just picked up the Hardrock MMA welterweight title. McGee, a really interesting guy, always kind of been underrated, not a guy that kind of jumps to the top of your name when you think about top fighters, but he's always been a really tough customer to deal with.
Always very entertaining and enjoyable for me to commentate his fights, right? I mean,
yeah.
you want a high-flying, exciting style of a fight. Look no further than Ethan McGee.
It's interesting that he fights like that because if you talk to him, he's a very soft-spoken guy. Pretty quiet, kind of unassuming, but once he gets inside the cage and that cage door locks, he's a different guy. The guy maybe from a different time coming out to the Who, and he's 24 years old.
Is he just 24?
Still just 24 years old. That's
How
hard to
believe. How long has he been around?
Made his debut in 2011, which would have made him 18 years old.
Okay, well, I guess that's how it works, huh?
Kellen Vancamp, 21 years old. His second pro outing, and his first fight did not go the way that he hoped it would go. Lost via knockout in the first round to Van Vo at Coliseum Combat 44 in April. He tries to get back on the winning track. And you talk about top-level amateur fighters, guys that we saw him at Hardrock 96 defend his title against Jacob Dorman, and we were saying, really, what else is there left for him to do as an amateur?
He's on the absolute fast track to a big pro career, and then he comes out and loses via knockout to Van Vo. What was Van Vo's record?
I believe Van was 1-9, so that's a tough loss in your first outing, but comes from a fighting family. Both of his older brothers,
certainly
Cameron Vancamp and Kyle Vancamp, all 3 now pro fighters. Joe Heighton is their coach, Heighton MMA over in Indiana. But can Kellen Vancamp get back on the winning track, or will Ethan McGee pick up a victory in his pro debut?
Ethan McGee looked really good in his last fight.
Pro featherweight fight here. Ethan McGee in the black, Kellen Vancamp in the black and blue. Rob Mooney is the referee for this one. Both guys come out light on their feet. Big overhand right from McGee lands.
Both fighters orthodox. Vancamp tried a low leg kick. Did not land.
Yeah, Vancamp, definitely the taller guy by a couple of inches. Looks like to have a little bit of a reach advantage as well.
That's nothing new to Ethan McGee.
Nice uppercut there from Kellen Vancamp. Leg kick, but he eats a 1-2, does McGee. Vancamp really liking that left hook early on in this fight. Side kick attempt from Ethan McGee. Vancamp stalking early on in this fight. Taking the center of the cage is Vancamp, but now
I think McGee connected on a couple quick jabs.
yeah, he fights with much better stand-up than you would think from a guy who had 7 submissions as an amateur. Just 1 TKO victory. Nice leg kick from McGee. Vancamp catches it though. Follows it in. McGee turns him against the cage here. Overhand over the right. Over the top from Vancamp. Tie clinch here from McGee. Landed a nice knee there. Trade punches. Vancamp liking that uppercut in the dirty boxing range.
Wow,
there's a right hand.
Connected with the big right.
McGee just shakes it off. In the clinch here up against the cage now. Nice elbow from Vancamp. Head kick attempt from McGee. Falls to the mat. Trying to grab the ankle here of Kellen Vancamp.
3 minutes in, you got time to finish this right now.
McGee off of his back. Vancamp into, was in the guard. Looking to try to pass here.
Elbow. Nice heavy.
Good hips here from McGee, looking for maybe for the Darce. McGee back to his feet though. Nice uppercut from McGee. A little bit of a mouse thumb to the left eye here of Ethan McGee and some blood coming out of the nose. Straight right lands for Kellen Vancamp. Then a right overhand over the top. Left hook just misses.
Hey, put him on the cage. Put him on the cage.
Right hand there from Ethan McGee. And that cut is starting to really open under that left eye now of McGee. This is the Kellen Vancamp that we saw in his last amateur fight.
Hey, put him on the cage. Put him on there. Elbow, elbow. You got 50 seconds.
Muay Thai clinch here up against the cage again.
Kel, elbow.
Elbow there from Vancamp. Another one. Another elbow again. Now he's teeing off. He caught McGee there pretty good with that right hand. Man, Kellen Vancamp is really teeing off with McGee now.
McGee is not backing down
Thai
by
clinch.
any stretch.
That is not the type of fighter he is.
No, no. But he's opened up. Vancamp's connecting consistently. 10 seconds left in the round. The judges see that, David.
Another right hand lands for Vancamp, and he is just teeing off. Elbow lands. Into the first round, you see big mouse on the left eye of Ethan McGee. And a lot of blood. Have to work on that cut here in between rounds. Both fighters electing to stand. Trying to get the swelling to go down on that mouth and the left eye. That's one that unfortunately not going to affect him with the blood flowing into the eye, but you got to worry about it swelling up and affecting the vision. Round 2 here. £145 bout. McGee throwing a couple kicks here early on in round 2. Now looking for the takedown. He's going to wonder if that was what his corner asked him to do in between rounds. Nice sweep there from Kellen Vancamp. He is now on top.
Take your time. Hey, now do damage. Elbows there. Left arm.
Short little elbow there from Vancamp. Some elbows off of his back from McGee though.
Hey, clear his leg.
To the side of the head. Tough to get a lot of power off of those. Now in a north-south position. McGee trying to sneak out the back door.
Pull him off the cage, Kel. Get control first. Control first. Hey, get your control.
McGee trying to grab the armbar here. Vancamp needs to keep him stacked and get his elbow past the cup. This looks to be pretty deep here. Can't see from our vantage point how much danger he's in. Some knees. Interesting technique there from Kellen Vancamp. Vancamp trying to extend that arm, finish the armbar submission here. He's out now though. There's a big right hand over the top. Trying to keep the pressure on on McGee. I feel like he was in mount there momentarily. As McGee stacked here up against the cage.
McGee is staying alive. Doesn't look like the prospects of him winning the round are very good.
A lot of pressure though here from Kellen Vancamp, as we mentioned earlier. This is more akin to the fighter that we saw as an amateur than his pro debut. Some big elbows here from Vancamp on top.
Almost on the cusp of stopping this early. But Ethan McGee, sure enough, wraps up his guard, is fighting tooth and nail to stay alive.
Vancamp stands back up here.
Watch up kicks, but pass the legs. Watch that kick.
Vancamp trying to get back. Was trying to pass the guard of McGee. Up kick just missed from McGee.
Vancamp doesn't look like he's worried about passing the guard
There's some
necessarily.
big shots from
maybe just stacking and smashing and looking for some ground and pound.
McGee trying to finish the single leg here. Ends up on top. Vancamp has that hook under the leg. McGee now on top. Vancamp with the feet on the hips and some elbows off of his back. McGee looking to try to get this sweep. Gonna be hard with McGee having his weight forward. McGee looking to try to pass here, try to get that left leg out now in half guard. Now maybe try to get that right leg out. Good sweep here from Kellen Vancamp. Ends up on top. Now in the guard of Ethan McGee. Technical battle here on the ground. A lot of jiu-jitsu.
Ethan McGee opening up, utilizing an open guard, trying to shoulder walk backwards, keep some distance.
Blood all over the face of Ethan McGee. Now back to his feet with 10 seconds left as Vancamp trying to tee off again. Nasty knee there up against the cage.
Wow, the judges are seeing Ethan McGee's face, and it's not looking very good for him.
And definitely for 2 rounds there for Kellen Vancamp.
But with somebody with the jiu-jitsu skills of Ethan McGee and also the very game puncher that he is, can't count him out.
Yeah, I mean, 18 amateur fights. Definitely been through some battles in his career. Trying to get that swelling down on the left eye, under the left eye there of Ethan McGee. I think the biggest thing with Kellen Vancamp is you've got 2 rounds down. Can you finish this fight? Can you really get the momentum going after that sour taste of a loss in your first fight? I think if you're McGee, you got to go for broke. Third round here.
If I know anything about Ethan McGee, we will see him do just that. He's opting to go in and maybe trying to get a takedown, working some foot stomps of his own as Ethan McGee.
You just see the size difference, though, from Kellen Vancamp. I mean, Ethan McGee probably as a guy, probably should be at 135 pounds. Kellen Vancamp is a real true featherweight. And you just see a little bit of a size difference here between these 2 guys. And that's really where a lot of the strength differences as well. But McGee's holding his own.
Oh, yeah. Be tough to win a 10-8 round against Ethan McGee, in my opinion. You know, he's not gonna walk through it. He's gonna connect with some striking. He's gonna have some success on the ground.
His elbow there from Kellen Vancamp. Another elbow. McGee
Ethan,
changing levels.
Yeah, lowers his level and goes in right into the half guard of Kellen Vancamp.
Yeah, Vancamp has control of the neck here. Gonna be tough to finish this.
He's looking for a closed guard. Maybe a mounted guillotine now.
This is deeper than what I thought it was at the beginning. Be tough to finish this because they're slippery in this 3rd round, but he gets the tap. Wow.
Mounted guillotines hit quick, and they are ruthless.
For Kellen Vancamp, I mean, you were already up 2 rounds. To get the stoppage, that's a nice, impressive victory there for him.
The headline here is Kellen Vancamp needs to stay fighting under the Hardrock promotion, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you know, as long as he keeps doing that.
Former amateur champ.
Yes.
Was undefeated as an amateur. Now gets his first victory as a pro. Was 4-0 as an amateur under the Hardrock banner. Now 1-0 as a pro. And that, as we mentioned a couple of different times, that was the Kellen Vancamp that we saw in his amateur career. That was the guy that we were wondering why he wasn't already a pro. And that's a big victory over a really tough opponent in Ethan McGee for Kellen Vancamp. Kellen Vancamp now 1-1 on his pro career. 5-0 under the Hardrock MMA banner.
Next fight, we've got